Hi, I am hoping that people can actually hear me now. This is my first time ever doing an Instagram live. So, yeah, I'm going to basically. Oh, hi, Myra Laker. Can you hear me? This is my first ever live, so I need you guys to tell me when you can actually hear me and if you can hear me, because otherwise I have no idea what is happening. So please, someone drop a comment. Let me know if you can hear me. I see a little love heart. Yes, great. Okay, that's great news. Hello, welcome. This is my first ever Instagram live. I'm very excited to talk to you one-on-one and to talk about the tips that I've posted this week in a different format. The idea is basically to run through the basic takeaways from each of my posts, summarize it in my own words, although I guess they are my own words already, but to try to give them to you in even nicer words, one-on-one, and of course answer any questions you have along the way. And then at the end, I'll do an open question session where anyone can ask anything at all. Hi, Natov, nice to see you. And yeah, that's basically the plan. Of course, at the end of the session, I'm also happy to answer any questions you might have about me. If you don't know my story, I used to be an opera singer, a professional opera singer. I sang for 7 years on stages all over the world before I transitioned into a career as a software engineer. So it's a bit of a unique journey, and I feel like I've learned a lot along the way. But to give you an idea of my credentials around giving these tips, I also worked for a long time in project management and in digital marketing. So for portfolios, I feel like they hold a special place in my heart because not only did they help me get my job, but they also have a lot to do with my areas of expertise. Will I save the stream? I have never done this before, so if that is an option, then yes, I will save the stream. That would be great. Hopefully it gives me a little pop-up or something at the end and I can just click yes, and it will be there for eternity and it will outlive us all. That is the plan. So, with that being said, if everyone can hear me and everything's up and running, let's get started. The basic idea behind this week, it was my first attempt at a theme week. I've been posting on Instagram pretty consistently for about a month and a half, but I've been here for a lot longer, and I'm very happy posting reels and like silly stuff and tips just randomly, but I was kind of feeling like maybe a little bit more structure could be nice. So I decided to do a theme week. And this time the theme was portfolios, developer portfolios. And on Monday, I covered the basics. Tuesday, I looked at common mistakes that people make and that I've seen over and over again. I've helped a lot of people get their first jobs in tech, and I've seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that put me off and I know put off recruiters. I've also then on Wednesday posted something about projects and what kind of projects you should post on your portfolio, and what you should prioritize. Then on Thursday, I gave some tips about different ways that you can create a contact section on your portfolio. And today I posted my reel about how to talk about yourself, or how to create a summary about yourself when you've got that little section on your portfolio that says about me, or about you, or about Anna, or about just a girl in tech, or whoever it is, what you should write, how you can structure that, because I know that a lot of people really struggle to write about themselves. So I decided to put something together that hopefully helps you to do that if that is something that you struggle with. Or perhaps if English is not your native language as well and you're looking for some format that you can use. So let's get started with developer portfolio basics. You can see I'm kind of looking over at the screen a little bit. I've got each post up so I can refer back to it. But of course, all of this is on my feed. If you want to go and have a look at it, feel free. But the idea is, let's start with the absolute basics. What is a developer portfolio site? I mean, you can kind of imagine that with a lot of jobs that rely on some sort of, let's say, some sort of craft or some sort of visual product, that it is important to have something that shows your work so that people can evaluate what level of skill you might have. This goes for photographers. I'm sure architects have portfolios. These are pretty common. And in software, of course, it makes sense, or in web development, it makes sense that this would be in the form of a website. So the idea of the developer portfolio is to have a website that shows some of your best work and describes who you are, what you're looking for, and maybe gives a potential employer the idea of what your strengths are and what you can contribute if you were to come on board to that company. So that's the basics of what it is. Of course, the natural next question is, should you make it yourself, or should you A, pay someone else to make it, or B, use some sort of do-it-yourself graphic user interface style thing, a no-code solution like Wix, or I think there are still some WordPress formats out there that you could use without any code if you really wanted. Of course, you can do that. I would say it depends on what kind of programmer you are. If you are a front-end or a full-stack developer, it would be an incredible waste to not use this opportunity to show what you can do. It doesn't make much sense for someone who says that they can create websites, for example, to not create possibly the most important website they're going to need in their job search. I would strongly recommend that if you can create websites, if you can create a front end, that you do that. Of course, if you're a pure backend developer and you just want to write Java and C# and you never want to touch the front end, then of course you can use a no-code solution and link to GitHub and things like this that can show what you can do in the backend sense. That is always an option, and yeah, but I would say if there's any chance at all that your new job will involve making websites, you should take the opportunity to show what you can do. Of course, you can use third-party libraries, you can use frameworks, you don't have to reinvent the wheel or use only pure JavaScript, a classic, vanilla, that's the word I'm looking for, vanilla JavaScript. You can, of course, use tools to help you, but I would always recommend making it yourself. Design. Design is always a big question. I don't know about you, but for me, I am much more on the technical side than I am on the artistic side. I struggle with design. I am not very good at it, but here's the thing. If you, like me, are terrible at design, there are still some very simple rules or very simple formats that you can follow. The two main ones are, of course, having a nav bar at the top that just links to different sections, having a nav bar at the side that links to different sections, or having just a full single page application with smooth scrolling, which is the best tip I can give you for CSS on a single page application. Apply smooth scroll and yeah, link to each individual section that way. If you are like me in that sense and you do struggle with design, please keep it simple. Don't try to do something super fancy. Don't try to use like 4 or 5 different colors in combination. Play to your strengths. If your strength is code, don't try to suddenly become a designer just for your portfolio. Design is a whole other world, and you're not going to be able to learn it in the time you need to just create a portfolio page. It's not worth your time, and you're not going to do it very well. So stick to simple things. White space is another one, the classic mistake most developers make when they create any website is that they often look at their page and they think, why does my page look shit? And almost always the answer is that everything is too squashed together, or the text is too large, or there isn't enough of a gap between columns. If in doubt, add white space, add margins, add a bit more of a gap between different sections, and try to stick to maybe 2 main colors. And other than having your 2 kind of feature colors, I would usually recommend just sticking to having a nice white or a white-ish color, a black or a blackish color, and a gray. I mean, I can't say grayish because grayish is also gray, but something along there. Oh, hey, Anna, thank you so much. Nice to see you here. And yeah, now you can hear me talk. I wonder if it's how you imagined it. So yeah, that's what it is when it comes to design. Of course, if you are in user interface, user experience, UI, UX, you must design it yourself, and this is a chance to show off. So if design is a strength of yours, use this opportunity to show off what you know. But for most of us tech heads, it is not our strength, and I would always say keep it simple. The same KISS principle applies here as also applies in your code. So that's what I would say. The next question, which often comes up, is what should be in a portfolio website? I will first go through what absolutely must be in a portfolio website, and that is an about section, a contact section, and we'll go into more detail on both of those later, some sort of link to your LinkedIn, a project showcase, and that's more or less it. Those are like the bare essentials. Like you can't not have any of those. And I would say for the project showcase, I include as part of that a link to your GitHub. So for each individual project, and again, we'll talk about projects a little more in a bit, but for each individual project, you should have a link to the deployment of that, if there is a deployment of it. Yeah, of course, if you're a back-end developer, again, it's a little bit different. But if there is something that people can actually look at and interact with, absolutely you must link to it. And the second thing is a link to the source code with a README file. I'm terrible at creating README files, so I'm just going to pass that along on the assumption that other people out there are also terrible at README files. Yes, I'm looking at you, and I'm pretty sure you're guilty of it. So there are a few other things, of course, you can add. There are plenty of options. It's really, there are so many things you can add in addition to those absolute essentials. You can link to your CV as a PDF file. Personally, I don't like it. I prefer the link to LinkedIn. It's more interactive. You've got like a contact button there. It's easier for people to connect with you. I feel like having a CV as a PDF on your site, I don't know, to me it feels very 90s. Hi Dwayne, welcome. If you do any freelancing, you can include freelance services on your website. This really comes down to your goals. If you're trying to get employed full-time or even part-time, if employment is your goal for a developer portfolio, do not talk extensively about your freelance offering. They are 2 different audiences, yeah? Your potential freelance clients are a completely different audience than people who are thinking about hiring you. And you should not get those 2 things mixed up, all right? So try your best. If you are a freelancer, have a like freelance section, or have a like want to become my client kind of section, but have it kind of link away from the main site. Maybe have it linked to a sub-site, or maybe a blog, or a special contact form, or a Calendly, or something like that, where people can book in a time slot directly with you. Try not to get them too muddled up together. The other one is, of course, social media. This is something I have on my site. I should add with my site, which is annamcdougall.com, by the way, but it's outdated. I really need to update it. So I felt like a bit of a hypocrite this week, giving everyone advice on portfolio sites while I haven't updated mine for a while. But one of the cool things I did for my portfolio site that a lot of people really liked is that I actually took the opportunity to create connections with the APIs for YouTube, Twitter, and my blog, if I'm remembering correctly, so that every time I update one of those, it automatically shows on the site. So you can actually like click through. I made like a little carousel style clicker for those things, and you can actually click through and see what I've uploaded or written about recently. And that's nice because I'm very active on social media. Of course, not everyone is, and if it's not something you're comfortable with, you don't have to do it. It's just an optional extra. The other thing is, and that kind of feeds into it, I guess, is the live Twitter feed. I've kind of talked about that. References. By far, references are one of the most underutilized things that I have seen from developers. If you have anyone you have worked with on code, and I am talking in a hackathon, I am talking in an online group, I'm talking someone who you met on Instagram who reviewed your code, anyone at all who has worked with you in a coding sense or in a professional workplace sense, you should be getting references from them. And that can be 1 sentence long, ideally about 3 sentences. Anna was great to work with. She showed enthusiasm and learned quickly on the job. I highly recommend her for any position. Boom, reference, done. These things are so valuable and they should be on your LinkedIn. You should be asking your contacts for them on LinkedIn. You should be putting them in big old quotes and sticking them straight on your portfolio site, because what you write about yourself, you could write anything about yourself. Anyone can write anything about themselves and make themselves sound like they're amazing. But when other people say good things about you, that's when people start noticing. So don't neglect references, quotes, use them. They are valuable. I will keep going now. Technical blog. If you have a blog of any kind, these are great. I love recommending blogging to career changers. The main reason is, and you see me, I'm sorry for those who have been following me for a while, this is something that I've spoken about so much, but this is a theme I keep coming back to over and over again. If you are a career changer, you are a risk. Companies have no degree from you, so they know for a fact that you haven't necessarily spent 3 years to 4 years sitting in a classroom slogging away in hopes of getting an IT job, which shows a level of commitment and loyalty that they know, okay, this person really wants an IT career, they're serious about it. They also, if you don't have any work experience in that area, they also don't have any proof at all that you can work in IT, right? This is again going back to why these references are so crucial. But a blog does some amazing things, right? A blog says, I am interested in this. I do this all the time. I can explain these concepts to other people and I'm good at what I do. And here's the proof in 500 words. So this is absolutely something where you can pick up next week. You can go on to Hashnode, you can go on to dev.to, even Medium if you want. Not a big fan, but you know, whatever, if you want to, go for it. And you can start writing about something you learned. For me, I usually say something you learned about 2 weeks ago, because anything you learned about 2 weeks ago, it's fresh enough that you remember why it was hard, but it's also fresh enough that you remember why the solution was good. Marie, can you make this into a post, or tell if you haven't already? Gotta run and thanks. Yeah, I don't know how to make this into a post, but hopefully I can do that. So if someone can tell me how I can save this at the end, I am all ears, because I would love to do that. But yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for watching. Of course, the other things you can add, you can make your portfolio like a mini CV by putting your work history. Again, LinkedIn is just always going to do this better than you can do it. So personally, I just like funneling everyone off to LinkedIn, and YouTube videos if that's something you do as well. So spent a little bit of time on that one, but hopefully you got some good info out of it. The other thing is branding. I spoke today in my reel about brand keywords, yeah, how that you should choose 3 words that describe you, that make you unique, that make you different or particularly interesting, or that are just true, frankly. They just describe you well. They might not even be all that interesting. It might be commitment. You know, commitment is like not a particularly sexy trait, but if that's who you are, go for it. That could be a good one. But But similarly for colors, I like having similar colors in everything I do. If you go to my feed, you will see very quickly what those colors are. Spoiler alert, they're yellow and purple. Everything I put is in yellow and purple. They feel like me. Purple is kind of, I don't know, a bit of a complex color I quite like, that you can never quite tell what it is. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's kind of blue. Is it blue or is it purple? I kind of like that. And then, and yellow because, I don't know, I feel like I have a lot of joy and yellow feels like a very me color. So these are the two colors I chose. You should choose your own colors, or maybe the same colors if you are similar to me. And just use it. Try to reuse those colors, create a connection to those colors. It's just something that helps people remember you and connect to you. So yeah, that was part 1, which were portfolio site basics. I made a crucial error. So for anyone watching this, I said at the beginning, this is my first ever live. I made a crucial error, which is I did not set myself up with some water before I began this, and it was a mistake. So if you give me 30 seconds, I will come right back with some water. I will, because I need it. You can probably still hear me because I'm in my kitchen, but I am thirsty. Okay. All right, and we're back. Hi. So, little break. Oh, they're your favorite colors. Nice. Obviously a woman of taste. Okay, so that's part 1. Of course, feel free to ask any questions as we go. I'll also take questions at the end. Let's talk. The next part was about common mistakes. I mentioned at the beginning that as someone who worked in digital marketing and as someone who has helped, I think, dozens of people by this point get their first tech jobs, that I have seen many mistakes. I often see the same mistakes made over and over again. The first mistake that I often see in portfolios is people putting the wrong information in there. For example, I've seen people put 3 paragraphs of information about their hobbies and side interests. Now, you could be an extremely interesting person with an extremely long list of interests and hobbies, but I'm really sorry to break it to you, but if someone is considering employing you and they've gone to your portfolio site to see if you can code, they don't care. They don't care if you are super into, I don't know, pottery, and then you also ride horses on the weekend and you like swimming in the morning. I mean, it's nice that you have hobbies. They like that you have hobbies. They show a little bit of flair, but that can be 1 sentence. It doesn't have to be 3 paragraphs. So focus on, or even things like motivations or your history, your background. For example, I used to be an opera singer. I speak about it quite often, but I don't focus on that at all in my portfolio. Why? Because it's just like an interesting fact about me. It doesn't make me a good developer. It doesn't make me a bad developer either, but it's just not particularly pertinent to the situation. It's not important. Your motivations for coding, good to have a mention of them, but again, it just doesn't need to be that much. The 2 problems I see with this stuff is people either giving too little information, like, hi, I'm Anna. I'm a full stack developer looking for my first my first full-time job. Okay. Where do you live? What kind of job do you want? What is your tech stack? I mean, you need, what are your what makes you different from every other person who's applied? You've got to give them something. You've got to give them something to work off. And that's that's the first, is giving too little. And of course, the opposite is giving too much, going into too much detail. Yeah, just give the basics, where you are, what you're looking for. For example, I am Australian, as you can hear, but I live in Germany. I can work for an Australian company if they're willing for me to work entirely remotely. I can also work for a German company. I can also work for pretty much any company that operates in the EU. Other than that, I can't. So I need to specify that on my portfolio site so that some tech company in Dallas doesn't see my site and think, oh great, I can ask her to work for us, because it's just not going to work. So that's the first thing, wrong information. That's the number one mistake I see. People either giving way too much or way too little. Accessibility. If you are working in front-end development, or if you're a full stack developer, it is very important that you read and that you become up to date with the latest in accessibility. What is accessibility? How can you make a website more accessible? These go down to basic things. For example, making sure that your text is readable. Hey, how you doing, Kadesha? So it goes down to that. Yeah, is your text readable? Can people see it? Yeah, or is the contrast ratio all wrong? But it also goes to things like, how have you structured it? Are you just using divs everywhere, or are you using semantic HTML? And if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, you must go and read about it. I do also have on my YouTube channel that is linked in my profile, I do have, I think it's 8 minutes, an 8-minute video about the basics of accessible websites. I strongly recommend you read that, because if you are not doing that, people will notice and it will count against you when people are looking at your code. The third enormous mistake, and I made this mistake when I first made my portfolio page, is that it doesn't work on mobile or on tablet. It must work on mobile or tablet. I know that media queries can be a pain in the ass. If you do not want to write the media queries yourself, use, I don't know, a Bootstrap or Material UI or something that allows you to adjust that more easily. But so lots of libraries out there to do that, but it just has to. Even though the majority of developers are using laptops or desktops, you just can't guarantee it. And remember as well that your developer portfolio is not just for developers. Sometimes the people looking at your portfolio are not technical. They could be recruiters who are sitting on the toilet browsing LinkedIn and see a link to your portfolio and go, oh, I wonder who, they look all right. Oh, maybe they would be suitable for that job that I heard about yesterday. And then they click into it on the toilet. I don't know why they have to be on the toilet in this example, but they do. And they're on the toilet and they're browsing on their phone, and suddenly they get to your website and it's all broken and janky. And they're going to go, oh, wow, well, if they can't design their own portfolio website, then forget them, right? They're gone. You've lost them. So you must have your portfolio site work on mobile and tablet. So I'd say those are the three biggest mistakes. The wrong information, too much, too little, having it not be accessible, or having it not work on mobile. Yeah, that's a very diplomatic way of putting it. Exactly. You never know how they're doing it. And that's the thing. If they're scrolling and it's looking all broken and there's like a big contact me section, they're just going to go, I don't think so. Toilet scrolling is the best. Exactly. Yeah, maybe it is a developer toilet scrolling. Maybe it isn't a recruiter at all. You never know. All right. I had a cold earlier this week, so you'll have to give me a second because I'm struggling. I might not get through this whole thing. We'll see how we go. Okay, now we're up to Wednesday. Hey, summary's going well. Oh, actually, Kadesha, while you're here, and I have no idea if I'm saying your name correctly, by the way, but at the end of the live, does it give you an option to save it and share it to your feed? Because I have no idea. I'm just talking here, and a few people have asked if I'm going to save it. And I want to, but I don't know if there's some thing I need to press, some magical button. So any advice on that would be great. The video can be shared. Yes. Okay, cool. I just hope I don't press the wrong thing at the end and lose everything. All right, in that case, let's talk about portfolio projects. I suppose, let's keep this straightforward. When you are learning to code, especially for people who are learning full stack web development, so let's say HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you are going to come across the same projects over and over and over again. It will be a to-do list app, a weather app, a calculator, a Pomodoro timer, and maybe a blog. If you get a bit further, you might create a blog. I would recommend not featuring any of those as your projects. Yeah, no worries. Have fun. Thanks for dropping in. Always try to do something unique. If you do come from a different background or from a different career, try to use that in some way. Use an area you know. Let's say you come from being a chef. Maybe you used to be a chef. You could create a restaurant website that has a menu and allows people to book a table or order in or something like that. So I would roll with something along those lines. Create whole web pages with whole functionalities that look like real web pages. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear that, but that would be my number one recommendation. So focus on creating, I would say, 2 to 3. And before anyone asks the question, your portfolio site absolutely counts. Absolutely counts as a project if you put in the time and effort and make the code and the site beautiful. So that is what I would recommend. And then in addition to your actual portfolio being a project, I would also put at least 2 other full stack applications if you're a full stack developer, or beautiful front-end applications if you're a front-end developer, or 2 fun programs or pieces of software if you're a back-end developer. And all of these should have links to GitHub. All of the code should be the cleanest, most beautiful code you can write, and all of them should have a README file. I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. People like README files and they notice when they are crap. I know this because I never write README files and I always get in trouble for it. So I am passing this on to you so that you don't make the same mistakes as me. Also, YouTube tutorials do not count. They don't count as projects. They're not your work. The only situation in which YouTube tutorials can be featured, in my opinion, is if you do something very unique with them. So after you're done with it, you look at it and you go, oh, actually, I want to add this feature, add that feature. So if you are adding features and making it your own somehow, then I would say, sure, you can feature them. But most of the time, the people who are hiring you, they know all the same YouTubers you know. They're watching the same people. You can't fool them into thinking it's your work when it's not your work. And you shouldn't present someone else's work as your work anyway. So that's my rant for that one. The other thing is, I know it's very tempting to change. Like you write the project, you get it working, it looks good enough. Okay, the code's a bit messy, but it's fine. And then you're like, okay, well, I really don't want to spend too long just refactoring this thing. That's boring. Why don't I start a new project and make something cooler? And I know that is a super tempting thing to do, but just don't do it. Just finish the first project first. Try to get it looking like absolutely amazing. Add a new feature in, get it looking sexy, get the code looking beautiful, and then, and only then, should you be adding it, basically. And then moving on. Francesco, I see you and I would love to add you, but I'm actually really struggling with my voice today and I'm just trying to get through this huge chunk of content so that I can drink some water and stop talking. So I won't add you this time, but let's do it. I would even go as far as to say next week, same time. If you're free, I'm free. That would be great. So that's projects. Let's talk about contact sections. This one's really simple for me. The best way to create contact or to have your user contact you is with a contact form. I mentioned Calendly before. Calendly is a good option for direct booking, but sometimes people don't actually want to book a time with you. They just want to tell you something. In my case, I still to this day get at least 1 or 2 contacts through my contact form, even though I'm not actively promoting my website, and they usually to speak at conferences and events. I love contact forms. They are safe, they are secure, they protect you and your information. It's better not to put up your address, your home address, or your phone number, especially, I really hate to say it, but especially if you're a woman, like, you're gonna get stalkers, like, don't do it. The other option is, of course, directing people to Twitter or LinkedIn or something like that, and they can contact you through that. I would say though, as I mentioned earlier, I did used to work in digital marketing, and one of the core concepts that you learn there is to reduce the number of clicks, reduce friction for the user. You want to make things as easy for them as possible. So if you make them go to LinkedIn and connect with you and then send you a message that way, that's 3 clicks. They fill in a form and then press submit, that's 1 click. To me, that's the winner. So that's why I always recommend contact forms. Someone mentioned the other day that they feel like contact forms get spammed. I have never had that experience. I use FormSpree for my portfolio website. Well, it's not a portfolio website anymore, it's just a personal website, but I really like that. So that's the contact section. Which brings us to today, to my final post of the week, where I was talking about how to talk about yourself. I mentioned earlier that one of the big mistakes that developers make over and over again is either talking way too much about themselves, so giving like paragraphs and paragraphs about their hobbies and motivations, or writing too little about themselves so that people come away knowing nothing about them except that they are a developer. If all I come away from a website knowing about you is that you're a developer, you have not created a good portfolio website. So I created this structure today when I was thinking like, how do you write a good about section? And I came up with these ideas, like they're kind of like, is it 5 basic steps. The first is to cover the basics. And I've got an example here that I'm reading from for full transparency. And Dwayne, it's annamcdougall.com, and I have not looked at it in months, so it must be very outdated, but you can look it up if you like. So the basic section is like, where are you from? What is your tech stack? What are you looking for? That's important, because a lot of people think, oh, I create this portfolio website, it's obviously because I want a job. Well, it's obvious to you because you know yourself and what you're looking for, but other people, they don't know if you're looking for freelance work, part-time work, full-time work, remote work, in-office work, hybrid work, casual work, contract work. They don't know. You have to tell them what you're looking for, so that, frankly, if you're not what they're looking for, they don't waste their time and they don't waste your time sending you a message only to find out like a week later after talking that actually you're in opposite sides of the world, or you're looking for completely different type of work than what they're offering you. It just doesn't make any sense. So give them that information. I put name, where you're from, and what you're looking for. Those are the basics. You must include those first. Then you I put 3 brand adjectives. 2 is also okay. So think about 2 or 3 adjectives. If you don't know what an adjective is, it's a describing word. Think about what makes you you. What makes you unique? If you've worked in sales or business, you've heard of the term USP. That means unique selling point. That is what makes you better or different than other people. What is your unique selling point? And you need to think of 2 or 3 adjectives that summarize who you are, what you bring to the table, and you need to drop those into a very, very hot, sexy sentence. The third thing is what I call the promise. Oh, in apparently my post I referred to that as the USP. Well, it builds on from it, so it all builds in together. You make a promise to whoever is reading about what you can deliver, right? What can you give? What can you guarantee? Maybe that's a good word for it. What can you guarantee that you can bring to a job? Not what you think you can do, right? What do you know you can do? What can you do better than most applicants? That needs to be the focus of this section. Then you have to put in the proof. As I said earlier about references, where I said you can say nice things about yourself, but as soon as they come from someone else's lips, they mean a lot more. It's the same idea here. You can make promises and guarantees, but no one knows if they're real unless you can give solid examples of how they're real and why they're real. So here you would use data, ideally with numbers or superlatives. Superlatives mean like the most, I'm the best at, I won this award. Anything like this. Even if it was like employee of the month at McDonald's, it doesn't matter. The point is the core of what that represents. It doesn't actually matter the level at which you're playing here. It's about backing up your guarantee with examples of how you can fulfill that guarantee. And the very last thing is a call to action. What is the one step you want the person reading to take? Do you want them to click your LinkedIn profile? Do you want them to fill in your contact form? Do you want them to look at your projects? What is the one thing, the most important thing to you, right? And again, I would play to your strengths there. So I put a full example, and this is an example I wrote earlier today. So first we've got the basics. I'm Anna McDougall, a full stack software engineer working with Java and Kotlin in the back end and React in the front end. I'm based in Leipzig, Germany, and looking for a full-time remote position anywhere in the EU. Basics. Who am I? Where am I from? What's my tech stack? What am I looking for? Boom. For reference, I'm not actually looking for a job. This is what I would write if I were looking for a job. The next is my brand words, right? Now, my brand words are energetic, helpful, and quirky. These are things I feel like encapsulate my personality pretty well. So I said here, my working style is highly energetic, and I pride myself in bringing a helpful attitude with some quirky humor to my workday. Okay, well now someone knows what it's kind of like to work with me. Then I've got a promise. I have no hesitation in promising you not only up-to-date technical abilities, but also expert team building and leadership. Okay, I've promised technical abilities, team building, and leadership. Can I prove it? Let's find out. I bring over 6 years of corporate experience, in addition to my full year at Novatech as junior software engineer, where in only 7 months, I was given the role of acting technical lead on 2 projects with over 30 trainees and junior developers. Okay, well, I've proven it. In 7 months, I was given responsibility over 30 developers on 2 projects. That's huge, right? I've given numbers, I've explained it, and most of all, being acting technical lead for these things backs up my promise. Technical abilities, leadership, team building. Now, you don't have to use those same 3 things, right? You can use anything that you feel like is what you can promise an employer, right? The key is I promised it and then I showed it. And that is the combination I want you to take away from here. And then the last thing is the call to action. If you're looking for a skilled and competent developer with a flair for people skills, then contact me via my contact form today and let's set up a Zoom call. There we go, something concrete. Contact me and we'll make a Zoom call. Francesco mentioned earlier he uses Calendly, also a great option. Then click on my Calendly and find a slot to book in a Zoom call. Also great, yeah? And also skips the step of having to send a message, which is good. So those are what I would say are the most important things. I know I've sped through everything, but they are really the core of what is important when creating a portfolio website. What are the mistakes that I see people make? How do you have a good contact form? How do you have a good project section? How do you have a good about section? And I really, really hope that that's been useful to everyone. I'm definitely going to save this so you can watch it back. So if you're just arriving or you've missed a bit, please feel free to check out my feed later and have a look at that. David, hi. Yes, great. I'm glad there are some questions. What if I am coming from a no experience background? Can I feature questions? Pin comment. Yeah, let's do that. What if I am coming from a no experience background? What do I define on a portfolio about myself? Yeah, so obviously when it comes to projects, it's the same. It doesn't matter if you have experience or not. I also came from a no experience background. On your portfolio, I would say focus on what you've done in communities or in groups. One thing a lot of new developers forget is that developing should not be a solo exercise. I was shocked when I started my first developer job at how much teamwork is involved, how much communication is involved. If so far all you've done is work independently, that's okay. And for the about section, I would therefore focus on your technical abilities and what maybe communication abilities. Maybe you need something like a blog or something along those lines that can show that you can explain concepts well. But ideally what I would recommend if you come from a no experience background, in order to get references, in order to get examples that you can use, is to go to hackathons or to contact groups on Discord. There are lots of Discord groups for developers. There are lots of online communities for developers. There are lots of Slack groups for developers where you can connect with other developers, ideally in your area, because local is always better. There's more of a chance that you relate to each other and that maybe they know someone who can get you a job later. Yeah, it just creates connections, creates a network. That is ideal. And just try to create stuff with other people in whatever way you can. If you are particularly young or you're a career, like if you're young and you have no work experience at all, then you must do that. You must create some sort of proof of what you're saying. That would be my number one tip. If you're coming from a different career, that's fine, because a lot of skills are transferable into tech. If you achieved anything in your former job, for example, when I did project management, I won most profitable conference producer of 2010. This was a while ago. And I still use that on basically all of my applications and CVs and websites. Not because me being a conference producer has anything to do with software development, but it shows that I took initiative and it shows that I was able to talk well to people. So if you have anything from your previous jobs, I would say use that. Yeah, absolutely. I hope that answered your question. Did anyone else have a question? I am struggling a little bit with my voice today, but I will try. Okay. All right, well, if that's it, then I want to thank everyone who came today. It has been wonderful talking to you all. I know I had to kind of rush through information, but I am just so thankful for everyone who showed up today and have given me your time and attention. It means a lot to me, especially as someone who is new to Instagram, well, new to taking Instagram seriously, maybe. And yeah, I just really appreciate your support. Please do follow me and let me know your story. I would love to know more about you. Oh, thank you, Deborah. I'd love to know about you and what you're going through. And if there's ever any way I can help, feel free to send me a message and I'll try. I always try. So with that said, I'm going to see if I can find the right button to press. I think it's this one. So if it works, you hopefully won't see me anymore. Okay, bye.